Artha Networks is very excited to be working with AFoCO. We see huge potential in our partnership, and one of the reasons why we're so excited is the importance AFoCO places upon relationships and partnerships, which is always important, but it's really important when working with private investors. My name is Ken Hynes. I am the CEO and co-founder of Artha Networks, and I am based in Boston. An ideal collaboration between AFoCO and Artha Networks will help to mobilize private investment for AFoCO projects in member countries and for AFoCO's Secretariat. Artha Networks is very excited at partnering with AFoCO for three specific reasons. One is the regional scope of AFoCO. The 17 member countries is very exciting for us. The second reason would be the technical expertise of the team. We've been very impressed with the technical expertise so far. And the third reason would be the emphasis on relationships, both with member countries, with private partners and public partners. I'm excited about the partnership because I think AFoCO brings a lot in terms of its regional scope, its technical expertise, and its emphasis on relationships. What Artha brings is approximately 13 years of experience mobilizing private capital. Our mission as a company is to mobilize private capital for sustainable development solutions. And over the last 13 years, I think we've built up a lot of knowledge, a lot of relationships. We actually manage a global network of investor partnerships. I think that totals over 4,500 partners, basically private investors. And that network spans about 35 different countries. So we bring our own experience, our network of partners, and I guess over the last 10 years, we've helped to mobilize over $100 million US in private capital for our partners. And what I think we can do together with AFoCO is two things. One is to mobilize private capital to support AFoCO's climate action plan. And the other important, I think, value that we can create together is leveraging Artha's network to provide feedback from private investors that will help to inform and guide AFoCO's project selection, project design, and implementation activities. And based on what I've seen so far, I'm very confident because AFoCO seems to be very open to partnerships and very open to new knowledge and to implementing new knowledge. So I'm very excited about what we can achieve together. Artha Networks leadership team has approximately 50 years of experience working in the private sector with private companies and private investors. We've also, during that period, worked with a lot of intergovernmental organizations like the World Bank, the EU, the Inter-American Development Bank. And what we've learned over this period is that intergovernmental organizations, IGOs, like AFoCO, have a unique role to play in mobilizing private capital for climate adaptation and mitigation solutions. Essentially, and to be more specific, what IGOs are uniquely well positioned to do is to de-risk projects. Given the nature of IGOs, and the relationships they have with government, and in the case of AFoCO, governments across the region, and the strength of those partnerships, IGOs like AFoCO can do three things. They can de-risk, or they can minimize political risk, they can minimize regulatory risk, and they can minimize operational risk. The fact that AFoCO is so hands-on in project selection, design, and implementation, especially on the implementation, that can significantly reduce operational risk. And that matters because private investors don't want to lose their investment. So the de-risking is probably the single most important role that IGOs can play in attracting private capital. And what we've seen essentially over the last 10 years is that IGOs like the World Bank and development financial institutions like the International Finance Corporation and even the global facilities like the Green Climate Fund. These are large facilities, but they're still seeing their role now as catalyzing private capital in terms of using official development assistance, ODA, to attract the larger flows of private capital. And they do that by de-risking projects. And based on what we've seen in our work to date with AFoCO, we believe AFoCO is very well positioned to play that role to achieve the objectives of its climate action plan. IGOs, intergovernmental organizations like AFoCO, do to maximize impact. I think IGOs like AFoCO can maximize the impact of its projects through the partnerships that they've established with not only with member country governments, but also local stakeholders. And the fact that AFoCO is so involved in the operational aspect of projects, that creates relationships, which are key, just in having the trust and the relationship of local stakeholders and local beneficiaries. That creates an environment that is ready to sort of scale up these projects because you're building on a foundation of trust. So when that is in place, more capital can come in from private sector investors to build upon that foundation of trust and scale up the project and the benefits of that project. When people ask me about the role of private capital in sustainable development, my answer is very short. You cannot have one without the other. The funding gap for climate change solutions, which include both climate mitigation and climate adaptation, is simply too large. By some estimates, the funding gap for solutions, sustainable solutions, will grow to US $2.7 trillion between now and the year 2030. The challenge is simply too big, and the gap is simply too big just for governments and just for official development assistance to solve. What's needed to solve it is private capital. And the fact is that private capital flows are far larger than official development assistance by a factor of 5 to 10. So any sustainable solution will require attracting private capital. And I'm very confident that AFoCO is well positioned to attract private capital to support and achieve its climate action plan. Artha Networks is very excited to be working with AFoCO. We see huge potential in our partnership, and one of the reasons why we're so excited is the importance AFoCO places upon relationships and partnerships, which is always important, but it's really important when working with private investors. In public markets, you have mandated, legally defined reporting requirements. You have much greater transparency and quarterly filings. In private markets, it's a bit more difficult. Partnerships really are based not on just sort of the legal code, but they're based on trust and who you trust to work with, who you value. And I think that emphasis on partnerships will serve AFoCO really well as it broadens its relationship and its partnerships with the private sector.